The drama surrounding Angel Reese reached new heights last night. After weeks of speculation, rumors, and questions swirling around her absence, the Chicago Sky finally rolled out the red carpet for their star forward's highly anticipated return. They branded it like a Hollywood premiere, plastering "Welcome Back Barbie" across social media, pushing out promotions that made it sound less like Game 35 of a struggling season and more like a season-saving blockbuster event. The franchise wanted to remind everyone that Angel Reese wasn't just a player, she was the centerpiece of their future, the face of their franchise, and the story they wanted fans to buy into. But the problem with marketing is that it creates expectations, and once the ball was tipped, reality was far less forgiving. By the end of the night, Chicago had lost its 5th straight game, dropping to 8-26 on the season and sliding further. It's out of playoff contention. Instead of headlines celebrating her stat line, the image replayed across timelines was Reese getting blocked at the rim. What was supposed to be her triumphant re-entry onto the WNBA stage became a viral punchline. Fans weren't talking about her 19 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. They were laughing at the clip of Ezi Magbagor swatting her shot into oblivion. Seattle's social media team gleefully sharing the highlight. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Chicago hyped up the Savior's return, but the only thing people remembered was the block that summed up their season. And that's where the story of Angel Reese's return really begins. Not in her stat line, but in how the perception of her impact has unraveled. For weeks, fans asked the same question: where exactly was Angel Reese? The Sky claimed it was a back injury, vague but believable enough for a while. Reese herself later described her absence as a chance to reflect, saying she had learned a lot about herself during the time away. For supporters, it sounded like a much-needed reset. For critics, it was tone deaf, an excuse that landed poorly when her team was in freefall, losing games and slipping out of the playoff race. Instead of humility, fans heard detachment, as if she had checked out during the most desperate stretch of the season. That's why Chicago leaned so hard into the spectacle of her return. They needed this night to feel monumental, a reminder that their centerpiece was still the future. But from the opening tip, the gap between presentation and performance was exposed. Reese took her shots, found her usual spots, and even put up respectable numbers. But every time she flexed or barked after a routine play, it rang hollow when the team couldn't get stops or hold on to leads. Her stat line looked decent on paper, but Chicago still collapsed in crunch time. The disconnect between the franchise's marketing and the team's reality grew wider with every possession. The numbers add another layer to the story. Reese has played in 24 games this season. She's been blocked 48 times. That's 2 blocks a game, the highest rate in the league. For all the talk about her dominance in the paint, opponents have figured her out, and the viral block against Seattle was just the latest example of how quickly highlights turn into memes. In a league where perception is everything, those clips do more damage than any stat sheet can repair. But maybe the bigger issue is what this says about Chicago as a whole. The Sky didn't just draft Angel Reese, they built their entire identity around her. Every offseason move, every press conference, every campaign reinforced the same message. This was her team now. The front office made bold, win-now moves. They shipped off Sonia Citron, a talented rookie flourishing in Washington, to acquire veteran guard Ariel Atkins in hopes of immediate playoff contention. They believed giving Reese the keys and surrounding her with veteran talent would accelerate their climb, but instead of a leap forward, the Sky are buried at the bottom of the standings. Citron, meanwhile, is thriving with the Mystics, flashing star-level potential and even putting herself in the Rookie of the Year conversation. It's the kind of contrast that makes Chicago's gamble look short-sighted, maybe even reckless. That's the backdrop to Reese's absence and why her time away fueled so much speculation. Her rookie year ended early, her run with Unrivaled. The Summer League showcase ended with her walking away. This season, when things got ugly, she disappeared again. Officially, it was a back issue. Unofficially, critics saw a pattern. When winning is out of reach, Reese checks out. Her coach said it was her story to tell. The team stayed silent, and in that silence, fans and commentators filled the gaps with their own narratives. When Reese finally came back, she wasn't eased in cautiously like most players recovering from injuries. She played 26 minutes, scored 19, and looked physically fine. That only heightened suspicion. If her absence was about health, why did she look so ready the moment she returned? And if it wasn't about health, what was it really about? Nobody had answers, and the vagueness became its own problem. Every time Reese repeated her line about learning a lot about herself, the words felt emptier. Fans don't want vague platitudes. They want proof that their star is committed to the fight. Chicago's gamble becomes even harder to justify when compared to the Indiana Fever, the team whose rebuild has become the blueprint for the league. Indiana also drafted a franchise star in Caitlin Clark, but the difference lies in what happened next. Instead of pinning everything on her, they surrounded her with a balanced roster. Aaliyah Boston anchoring the paint, Kelsey Mitchell providing veteran scoring, Lexi Hull and Sophie Cunningham bringing defense and grit. Together, they've built a team that feels like it's growing towards something real. Even when injuries hit, the Fever kept grinding, pulling off comebacks and building a culture of resilience. Their games feel electric, their fan base growing, and their presence on national broadcast undeniable. Clark is the centerpiece, yes, but she's also the catalyst for a team identity that runs deeper than just her name. She shows up even when injured, visible on the sidelines, invested in every game. That matters. Fans see it, teammates feel it, and the narrative around her becomes self-sustaining. Indiana isn't just selling Caitlin Clark, they're selling progress, and fans are buying it. Chicago, meanwhile, is selling a mirage. They framed Reese as the savior, but the team hasn't shown progress with or without her. Their record is almost identical whether she's on the floor or not. Their playoff hopes vanished weeks ago, and to make matters worse, their 2025 draft pick belongs to Minnesota. Even the supposed silver lining of losing, the chance at a generational talent, won't help them. That's the cost of building everything around an image instead of a foundation. Reese's defenders point to her numbers: 14 points and 12 rebounds a game, an all-star appearance, and the kind of production most young players would dream of. But her critics counter with one simple truth: winning hasn't followed. For all the boards, all the buckets, and all the noise, Chicago is still one of the worst teams in the league. Production without impact is empty, and perception without results is dangerous. That's the dilemma Reese finds herself in now. When the Sky unveiled "Welcome Back Barbie" for Reese's return, they wanted to remind fans of the promise she represented. Instead, the night reminded everyone of the gap between hype and reality. 6,000 fans showed up to watch the event, far short of a sellout. The team lost again, and the highlight that went viral wasn't hers, but that's not just a bad night, that's a branding disaster. So where does this leave Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky? Her return should have been a turning point, a moment to silence critics and spark hope. Instead, it reinforced the questions that have hovered over her career. Does she contribute to winning, or is she just a product of marketing spin? Can she be the centerpiece of a contender, or will she remain a talented player who puts up stats in losing efforts? The answers aren't clear yet, but the clock is ticking. Chicago can't afford to waste more years selling an image without building a foundation, and Reese can't afford to let her reputation be defined by viral blocks and missed opportunities, because in sports, perception is as powerful as performance. And right now, the perception is that Angel Reese is all flash, no finish. Whether that changes depends on what she does next. So what do you think? Is Angel Reese really the franchise cornerstone Chicago believes in? Or is she more of a marketing mirage than a winning piece? Does she actually help her team succeed? Or are the critics right to say her impact doesn't match the hype? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a breakdown of the biggest stories shaping the WNBA.